He flexed the fingers of his right hand. They were sore, proof he had not shot enough arrows since the battle in Picardy. His back ached, as it always did after he had shot the bow 20 or more times. Each draw was the equivalent of lifting a man one-handed, and the effort of it dug the ache deep into his spine. But the arrows had driven the Scottish left wing clean back to where it had started, and where, like their English enemies, they now drew breath. The ground between the two armies was littered with spent arrows, dead men, and wounded, some of whom moved slowly as they tried to drag themselves back to their comrades. 2 dogs sniffed at a corpse, but skittered away when a monk shied a stone at them. Thomas unlooped the string of his bow so that the stave straightened. Some archers liked to leave their weapons permanently strung until the stave had taken on the curve of a tensioned bow and were said to have followed the string. The curve was supposed to show that the bow was well used, and thus that its owner was an experienced soldier. But Thomas reckoned a bow that had followed the string was weakened, and so he unstrung his as often as he could. That also helped to preserve the cord. It was difficult to fashion a cord of exactly the right length, and inevitably it stretched. But a good hempen string, soaked with glue, could last the best part of a year if it was kept dry and not subjected to constant tension. Like many archers, Thomas liked to reinforce his bow cords with women's hair, because that was meant to protect the strings from snapping in a fight. That, and praying to St. Sebastian. Thomas let the string hang from the top of the bow, then squatted in the grass, where he took the arrows from his bag one by one and span them between his fingers to detect any warping in their shafts. "The bastards will be back!" A man with a silver crescent on his surcoat strode down the line. "They'll be back for more. But you've done well." The silver crescent was half obscured by blood. An archer spat, and another impulsively stroked his unstrung bow. Thomas thought that if he lay down he would probably sleep, but he was assailed by the ridiculous fear that the other archers would retreat and leave him there, sleeping, and the Scots would find and kill him. The Scots, though, were resting like the English. Some men were bent over, as if they caught their breath. Others were sitting on the grass, while a few clustered round a barrel of water or ale. The big drums were silent, but Thomas could hear the scrape of stone on steel as men sharpened blades blunted by the battle's first clash. No insults were being shouted on either side now. Men just eyed each other warily. Priests knelt beside dying men, praying their souls into heaven, while women shrieked because their husbands, lovers, or sons were dead. The English right wing, its numbers thinned by the ferocity of the Scottish attack, had moved back to its original place, and behind them were scores of dead and dying men. The Scottish casualties left behind by the precipitate retreat were being stripped and searched, and a fight broke out between 2 men squabbling over a handful of tarnished coins. 2 monks carried water to the wounded. A small child played with broken rings from a mail coat, while his mother attempted to prise a broken visor off a pike that she reckoned would make a good axe. A Scotsman, thought dead, suddenly groaned and turned over, and a man-at-arms stepped to him and stabbed down with his sword. The enemy stiffened, relaxed, and did not move again. "Ain't Resurrection Day yet, you bastard," the man-at-arms said as he dragged his sword free. "Goddamn son of a whore," he grumbled, wiping his sword on the dead man's ragged surcoat. "Waking up like that. Give me a turn." He was not speaking to anyone in particular, but just crouched beside the man he had killed and began searching his clothes. The cathedral towers and castle walls with spectators. A heron flew beneath the ramparts, following the looping river that sparkled prettily under the autumn sun. Thomas could hear corncrakes down the slope. Butterflies, surely the last of the year, flew above the blood-slicked grass. The Scots were standing, stretching, pulling on helmets, pushing their forearms into their shield loops, and hefting newly sharpened swords, pikes, and spears. Some glanced over to the city and imagined the treasures stored in the cathedral crypt and castle cellars. They dreamed of chests crammed with gold, vats overflowing with coin, rooms heaped with silver, taverns running with ale, and streets filled with women. "In the name of the Father and of the Son," a priest called, "and of the Holy Ghost, St. Andrew is with you. You fight for your king. The enemy are godless imps of Satan. God is with us.